Journalists are often caught in between the line of fire of the cases they investigate. It's one of those professions in which you need to dedicate to your job with a heavy passion, since a lot can go wrong in their investigation. Today's case involves an experienced journalist whose investigation revealed a shameful public scandal that ultimately led to his demise.
He's accused of murdering an investigative reporter at the Review-Journal.
Robert Tellis will remain in jail for now. He's seen here in the courtroom with a smile on his face. His lawyer is requesting more time to work on the murder case, while Clark County District Attorney Steve Wolfson says prosecutors will continue to prepare to argue for a significant bail at the next hearing. Tellis is the Clark County Public Administrator. He's accused of killing Review-Journal investigative journalist Jeff Gehrman, who exposed problems under the leadership of Tellis.
Hey guys, welcome back to Crimeco, your go-to channel for some intriguing and incredible true crime stories. Before we continue with today's case, remember to subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and turn on the notifications. Help this true crime community grow even more. So buckle up and get ready to go on a wild ride with us. It is hard to imagine that deep inside the desert of the state of Nevada, there's a city in which all kinds of entertainment take place. Las Vegas, more commonly known as Sin City, is the place where all of your dreams can come true, but people forget that nightmares are also a type of dream. But it is not all games and fun in Sin City. In the suburban area of Las Vegas, life goes on the same as in every other city. 9-to-5 work, middle-class neighborhoods, public schools, you name it. This was the home of one of the most renowned journalists in the area, Jeff Gehrman. On the evening of September 2, 2022, one of Gehrman's neighbors noticed that he had left the garage door open, but he thought nothing of it. Sometimes Gehrman would get home late in the night and just forget to close the door. So this wasn't something out of character for the journalist to do. The neighbor simply decided to close the garage door for him and just went on his way. If only he had just checked on Gehrman, perhaps he would have had a chance to survive the attack. It wasn't until the next morning, on September 3, that Gehrman's body was discovered. Around 10:30 in the morning, the local 911 dispatcher got a call about an unresponsive male on the 7200 block of Bronze Circle, near North Tenaya Way in northwest Las Vegas. When paramedics reached the address, they found Gehrman lying on the side of his house. Unfortunately, the journalist was already deceased, and he was pronounced dead at the scene. However, his demise wasn't due to natural causes, as the paramedics found several stab wounds on his body. It was clear that someone was involved in his death, and so an investigation began. The first scenario that detectives thought about was the chance that Gehrman had been robbed. But as far as could be seen, no one had done anything in the house, and none of his valuables were missing. However, a small detail caught their attention. The bushes and yard plants along the side of the house where Jeff was found had been messed with. Someone seemed to have been standing in the trees, maybe waiting for Jeff to come home. If this was the case, Jeff's death was a planned and intentional attack. Following this theory, another line of questioning was brought up very quickly. Gehrman's job had caused him to get into trouble. Investigators found out from Jeff's neighbors that he was a journalist, but not just any journalist, but the type of guy who used to go deep and hard about his cases, which were most of the time very controversial. Gehrman was an investigative reporter who made a name for himself by finding out the dirty secrets and criminal activities of some of Sin City's most shady people. He was an experienced journalist who had dealt with organized crime, mafia associations, government, and political bribes, along with several tragic events such as the MGM Grand Fire in 1980, and in more recent years, the Las Vegas mass shooting in 2017. He was well known and admired for his devotion and strong will to always provide first-hand information and the truth of the events to the public, even at the cost of his own life. Unfortunately for the person responsible for the crime, an invisible eye was able to catch him. Soon after the murder, police quickly got video footage from CCTV cameras in the area to see if they could find anyone suspicious coming and going. especially near Jeff's house around the time of the murder, but the time frame was broad, around a full day, so there wasn't much hope of finding something. Fortunately, luck was on their way, and they found what they were looking for. A person wearing a wide straw hat, gloves, and a bright orange long-sleeved shirt was thought to be the killer. The suspect was caught by the cameras near German's house early on Friday morning, the day before he was found. At 11:18 a.m. soon after, the victim came into the footage, opened his garage door, and walked to his house. It seemed that the suspect was hiding in the bushes, and somehow he got a hold of German and stabbed him to death. The video footage also showed the suspect casually leaving the scene of the crime, like he had done nothing. Now that the investigators had solid evidence of a potential killer, it was time to find out who could do such a thing. The cameras captured yet another crucial aspect of the case. It was a vehicle that investigators suspected could belong to the killer. It was identified as a 2007 to 2014 red or maroon GMC Yukon Denali with chrome handles, a sunroof, and a luggage rack. It was seen driving around the neighborhood and also looking closely at German's house. So at that time, the investigators had two major theories about what happened. One involved the idea that the suspect was looking for houses to rob, and when he reached German's house, he was caught and the suspect stabbed him. The other theory had to do with the fact that someone premeditated the attack and was only looking for German to kill him for unknown reasons. On September 6, the local police held a press conference and also revealed part of the CCTV footage so the public could help them identify the person driving the vehicle involved in the crime. When the news of German's demise reached his circle, everyone was clearly affected. His passing devastated the staff at the Las Vegas Review-Journal, which included some of his former co-workers and friends. They were also very angry about the thought that he might have been a target because he worked as a reporter. It is known that their profession can sometimes be very challenging due to the nature of their articles and further investigations, but still, when a dear colleague loses his life for it, it's a pill hard to swallow. Shortly after the footage of the car and the suspect were revealed, the police got their first lead. The car apparently belonged to the wife of a well-known politician, and it was later discovered that he was currently working as a county public administrator. In fact, when German's co-workers found out that it was highly likely that he got killed because of his articles, they reported having someone in mind. His name was Robert Tells, and he had a long feud history with German's line of work. In the early morning of September 7, the police raided Tell's house in the Peckhole Ranch neighborhood, and after several hours, they released a statement in which they revealed that warrants were issued against Tells to investigate if he had a connection with German's death, and Tell's red GMC Denali and a BMW were towed for further investigation. But who was this county administrator? And why was there conflict between him and German? Tells was born in Biloxi, Mississippi and raised in El Paso, Texas. At the time of the murder, he was 45 years old and had lived in Las Vegas for 20 years. He was married and had 3 kids. Robert began working as a lawyer after finishing from the Boyd School of Law at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas in 2014 and was even elected as president of the student body. Perhaps that's where all of this began. Apparently, he didn't step up to the plate and used the power conveyed by his position to overpower others in the Students' Council and criticize everyone when things weren't done the way he wanted. It was also discovered that during those days, he faced allegations of inappropriate behavior with one student. An internal investigation was launched, and Tells was forced to step back from his position. After college, he opened his own law firm, but in 2018, he ran for the position of Clark County Public Administrator under the Democrat Party, and he won. His job was to protect the property of people who have died in the county, while family or their next of kind is found. He seemed thrilled to have won the election, but of course, not for the right reasons. Once again, he misused the power vested in him for his personal pleasure and gain. At the beginning of 2019, Tells began his new job, and he was supposed to end his term in January 2023, but soon trouble began. By 2022, the office had been in a lot of trouble and disagreements for more than 2 years. There were claims of mental stress, bullying, and favoritism. Multiple complaints to human resources were not taken seriously, even though it was said that Robert often lost his temper at work. Workers from the office said he was selfish and crazy and sly and cunning. Tell's temper was something to be afraid of, and his rage over meaningless things was becoming legendary in the office. Overall, it was a hostile work environment, and his staff was fed up with his behavior. After many reports of Tell's incompetence and toxic workplace, the county claimed that they couldn't fire an elected official because only a judge or grand jury could do that. Since the county turned a blind eye to Tell's behavior, his staff decided to take a harsh approach. They went to the press to force the county to take action, and who was the man they turned to make this happen? Jeff German. German was no stranger to writing about political scandals, and he put all of his skills and passion into unveiling all of Tell's indiscretions, both at work and privately. In May 2022, German's first story about Tell's came out. The article talked about a private retaliation report that an estate coordinator made to the Clark County Office of Diversity. In the complaint, the coordinator gave information about Tell's relationship with an office worker. The complaint allegedly stated that Tell's had a clear and unprofessional bias toward this particular employee and had made things too tense and uncomfortable in the office for no reason. Employees were so fed up with the bullying and favoritism that they secretly filmed their boss in the back seat of his favorite employee's car one afternoon. It was stuck on the corner of a parking lot at a nearby mall. Several times, they were said to have spent several hours together in the back of her car, doing who knows what, but very privately and clearly trying to hide. After writing about the affair and how it affected people at work, German stated in another article that the county was hiring an outside expert to look into the issue. One of Tell's staff members, the administrator, Rita Reed, was the one who decided that enough was enough. She worked closely with German while he wrote every article about Tell's. Soon she faced a difficult choice to make. Visibly tired and angered by her boss attitude, she thought about just quitting her job and retiring early. But she had been at the office for longer than Tell's and knew very well what the job required. So instead, she went against him when the time for elections came. German's articles were doing their magic, and Tell's true colors were slowly showing his short-tempered attitude, which caused significant damage to his reputation. Cornered by the election date getting closer, Tell's went into YouTube to reach a wider audience. The video was called The Tragic State, about what he thought was bad management in the office of the public administrator when he took it over. He claimed that the issues were the result of the person who came before him, and that when he took over, he fixed them. The video was one more of his attempts to try and clear his image, but it was too late. In June 2022, Tell's lost the election to Reed, and for the first time in several years, the staff and Reed herself could see the light at the end of the tunnel. Tell's was devastated, and more importantly, he was very angry. He had lost the position of power he so much loved, and things were about to drastically change for him. He turned to Facebook and Twitter to attack German for the fallout of his career, and it is believed that this was the ulterior motive that drove Tell's to kill the journalist. When Tell's was brought to the police station for questioning on September 7, 2022, he was released after some hours. But by the evening of the same day, police and paramedics were called to his house. Tell's apparently tried to harm himself, and the same day he was arrested on suspicion of murder. As more information about German's murder came to light, so did Tell's background. Ex-co-workers of the journalist dug through his past and found out that he had been arrested for domestic battery and resisting arrest in March 2020, while he was still working for the county. They also found records of him yelling at the police, "You just want to take me down because I'm a public official." Once again, he was trying to get some leverage due to the nature of his job. He was given a 90-day suspended sentence for resistance and told to go to a corrective thinking class, while the battery charges were dropped. The day of his arrest, police got a search warrant for his home because the link between the red Denali and Tell's, together with the very public animosity between him and German, was too important to just dismiss. During the search of the house, the police found a pair of sneakers inside that had what looked like blood on them. These shoes looked like the ones the accused killer wore in the surveillance video. Although they were visibly damaged, probably torn in an attempt to get rid of them, they were still of use to the investigators. A toolbox in his shed had a straw hat that looked like the one the suspect was wearing, but it was also torn apart. There was also a bag in the house that matched the one the suspected killer was carrying. The police questioned Robert, and he consented to them looking through his clothes. He also consented to a DNA test, whose results would be of great value for the case. After his arrest, Tell's first court date was to set up his bail. The prosecution linked the death of German to Tell's. The chief deputy district attorney stated that German's articles cost Tell's his job as a politician and had probably also ruined his marriage. They also gave a report outlining all the strong proof they had gathered against Tell's. The new video showed more security footage that clearly suggests or shows Tell's waiting by the side of German's house, calling out to the reporter when he got home, luring him to the side of the house, jumping on him, and ultimately stabbing him to death. After much consideration, the judge decided Tell's would be held without bail and officially charged him with murder. During the hearings, more details came to light. According to the coroner, German was stabbed 7 times, 4 times in the neck and 3 times in the torso. That type of attack was strongly believed to be a very personal and vile attack. Also, do you remember the DNA test? Well, Tell's DNA was found in German's fingernails, which was indisputable proof that before the victim died, he and Tell's had met. Aside from the murder case, there were also more hearings to officially remove Tell's from his job. He lost the elections to Rita Reed in June 2022, but his term didn't end until January of the next year. In other words, Robert had been getting his regular $120,000 a year pay from the county since he was arrested in September of that year. So the judge determined that Tell's should be fired and all payments should be stopped too. A surprising turn of events happened when Tell's decided to represent himself. It seemed that he had a very difficult time trying to retain a lawyer who would take his case. Tell's, a non-criminal lawyer, was warned about the possible outcomes of self-representation and was questioning for almost an hour whether or not he was able to do it. After some back and forth, the judge, Michelle Leavitt, granted his request. After getting indicted for murder with the use of a deadly weapon, Tell's pleaded not guilty and has remained until this day to be sure about his innocence. While in prison at the Clark County Detention Center, he gave an interview and stated, "That evidence, or so-called evidence, was planted along with the other items allegedly found in my home as well, and we will go ahead and prove that at trial." Eventually, Tell's found himself represented when his criminal lawyer, Robert Draskovich, took his case. The trial was set to start on March 18, 2023, but the judge, Leavitt, pushed the date further since there were some electronic devices that had to be examined as part of the evidence. The new trial date was set for August 5, and Tell's remains in prison to this day. Although the death of German left a bitter taste, most people thought of him as a hero. His determination, tenacity, and passion for the truth cost him his life, but in the end, he helped lots of people throughout his career, and he should be remembered and honored. Well, folks, that's all for today. Thank you for staying all the way up to the end of this video. If you're down for this type of content, hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. We'll also love to know what you think about our content, so leave a comment and tell us all about it. See you next time.